How you doing, guys? Back again with another video. So in this one I wanted to take a look at the Samsung Galaxy S20 Ultra. I've been using this phone for a couple of weeks and it is actually amazing. I'm so impressed with the actual video and quality you can get out of this. I'm filming it right now and I'm using Filmic Pro. And this is a sort of image quality you can expect to get. I mean, from this bigger sensor size, which is the reason why I decided to go for this phone and try it out, you can see I'm getting a lovely bit of bokeh in there. There's no external lenses on this phone whatsoever, and the image quality is just looking great. So in this one, I wanted to just have a run through about what features are working, what features aren't necessarily working as well in Filmic Pro with this phone. So if you're on the fence about getting this phone for creating content, then hopefully this video will help you out there. But before we jump into the video, if you haven't subscribed, consider doing so. Everything I do on this channel is shot just using a smartphone. We have no DSLRs on this channel, it's just shot all entirely with a smartphone. Okay, so I've had this phone for, say, about 2 weeks, since March the 10th, about that sort of time anyway. And the reason why I decided to go for this phone, like I just said a minute ago, was the sensor size in it. Having that bigger sensor, I was really like hoping that it was going to be better in low light, that the image quality was just going to be, you know, that step up, that next level. And I haven't been disappointed whatsoever at all. Now, I had the Note 10 and I also had the S10 Plus as well last year when they came out, and I was I mean, the image quality was good, don't get me wrong, but there was some sort of bugs in Filmic Pro, and it just wasn't, the image quality that I was getting out of it wasn't better than, say, the iPhone image for me to be like, okay, I'm not going to use the iPhone now, I'm going to stick with these phones. So that's why I went back and I carried on using the iPhone 11 Pro Max. I got that in the end and carried on using that. But this year, with this S20 Ultra, the image quality on it using Filmic Pro has been absolutely amazing. And this is definitely my full-time driver that I'm going to be using from now on to create all my content, because the image quality just looks that great. So talking a little bit about that image quality, I'm filming with the Samsung Galaxy S20 Ultra right now in Filmic Pro. And as you can probably see, I've got no external lenses on there whatsoever, and there's probably a nice little bit of bokeh going on in the background there. The phone's roughly about a meter away from me. And to sort of get this shot set up, I've actually zoomed in a fair bit on the phone as well. So, and the image quality on it is still holding up really, really well from that main sensor there. So yeah, it's looking absolutely great to me. So this video is all about the Samsung Galaxy S20 Ultra and using Filmic Pro with it. If you're on the sort of fence about getting this phone to create content with, and you're thinking, well, shall I get it, shall I? Is it going to be any good? Is it not? Well, hopefully this video is going to help one of you out there decide whether to pick this up or not. Now, there's two different variants that you can expect to get. In certain areas of the world, you're going to either get the Snapdragon or the Exynos chip. Now, here in the UK, we get the Exynos chip. Now, the good thing about this one is that for some reason, Samsung allows Filmic Pro to access more features than they do on the Snapdragon chip. So there's going to be frame rates missing that you can't shoot with on the Snapdragon, and just a few other bits and pieces that, for me personally, if it was the Snapdragon variant that I had to get, then I probably wouldn't get this phone for creating content purely on that reason. But this is all about the Exynos chip and what features you can expect to get and what's working well and what isn't working well. So jumping in, let's start off with resolutions, and we can film up to 4K with this phone. Now, I know it's advertised to shoot in 8K. That's one of the features that Samsung doesn't allow third-party app developers to have access to, but we can shoot up to 4K and 60 frames per second. Now, when we're talking about the 60 frames per second here, there is an issue that I came across with the 60, and that is the frame rate isn't very consistent. We're shooting sometimes at 47, sometimes 52. So there's obviously some sort of a bug in the software with Filmic Pro there that they need to address and push an update out for. But every other frame rate is working perfectly fine and filming consistent. It's just that 4K 60, because the 4K 60 on this phone looks absolutely beautiful. It just looks so, so nice. So if they could get that consistent frame rate right so that we could slow it down in post to 40% and get that slow-mo, that would be amazing. So Filmic Pro, if you're watching this, please get an update, sort this out and have a look into it, please. So the frame rates you can expect to be able to shoot at 4K is going to be 24, 25, 30, 50, 60. So you've got all the major frame rates there that you need to be able to shoot at, and all of those frame rates are filming consistent apart from the 60 FPS. Now, when we jump down resolution, you can shoot in 3K, 2K, and then jumping down to 1080p, we can shoot up to 240 frames per second. So we've got all the frame rates the whole way through the board there, and the 120 FPS slow-mo looks absolutely spot on. So when it comes to this phone and frame rates on it, they're all working perfectly. You can shoot from all the different frame rates. It's just that 60 FPS that they need to really take a look at. Now, when it comes to access to what cameras we actually have access to, we've got access to the main camera lens, which is the wide lens that I'm shooting on now. We've got access to the ultra wide lens. We've got access to the selfie lens and also a selfie wide lens. And the selfie camera on the phone itself looks absolutely brilliant. I'm so impressed with actually the way that the selfie camera actually looks on this. You could even just shoot your video with it selfie towards you without a problem whatsoever, and it would look absolutely great. Now, unfortunately, Samsung don't allow third-party app developers to have access to that telephoto lens, which is unfortunate. It's just one of those things. I just wish Samsung would let the third-party app developers have access to all of these features, because this camera and this lens is just amazing. Now, all the audio settings and everything are working perfect on this phone. Hardware settings, you've got the anamorphic D-squeeze, the flip for the DOF adapter, that's all there, that's all working. Saving presets, that works. Once you've saved your presets, they're there every single time. So everything pretty much seems to be working as it should. Now, if you've downloaded the app and you've paid for the cinematographer kit on this, it's 100% worth it. The log profile on this phone is amazing, and it really does give you a lot more dynamic range. I'd highly recommend you purchasing that. So if you was wondering whether or not that's going to be accessible, and it works, it 100% works, and it definitely is accessible. And I just shoot log constantly now, non-stop with this phone, and it looks brilliant. Now, here's a couple of things that I'd like to touch on that Filmic Pro still needs to sort out, and it's the white balance on this thing. Auto white balance is what I've got it set to now, and the auto white balance seems to do a pretty good job at getting the color reproduction the way that it should be in the scene. But if you really want to dial that white balance in yourself or adjust it using the sliders, then for some reason the colors just go all over the place and it just looks really weird. And like, also now, all the lights that I've actually physically got on me are 5500 Kelvin, and on the actual screen itself is saying 3100 and 3209, and it's sort of fluctuating a little bit here. So I really don't understand what's going on with the white balance settings on this, but that's an issue definitely that needs to be sorted out. Is it a deal breaker? No, auto white balance works perfectly fine, and you could always use a, where is it? A white card like this, and then lock the white balance to this. So it's not a major issue, it's not a deal breaker, but it's definitely something that I would like to see sorted out to be able to dial that white balance in exactly how I would like it. Again, I've mentioned to you about the inconsistent frame rates in 60 FPS at 4K. That's something I would really like to see sorted out as well, because shooting at that 4K 60 just looks so good. The image is so crisp, it just looks so good. Trust me when I say it, it does look nice. Way better than the 4K 60 on my iPhone 11 Pro Max. My iPhone 11 Pro Max now is sitting in front of me, and it's dedicated to recording audio through this microphone. That's what it's dedicated to doing. So yeah, you can probably tell how much I'm enjoying this phone and how well it works, the image quality is, and just overall the experience using this camera on this phone with Filmic Pro has been absolutely amazing. So apart from that, I haven't actually come across any other issues using Filmic Pro. It's probably the most stable and performing the best that I've ever experienced it on Android. So well done, Filmic Pro. Please keep up the updates, keep up the good work, because the camera on this phone is exceptionally good. But again, this is just a quick one. If you're on the fence about buying the Galaxy S20 Ultra for creating content and using Filmic Pro, I can tell you that it works pretty much spot on. There's a few little issues they still need to work out, but obviously Samsung's still pushing out updates for their camera phone, because I know that it's had a lot of bad press about its autofocus at the moment, and they released a new update today, which I've installed, and the autofocus is working absolutely fine now, so there's no issues there with autofocus. But yeah, it was just a quick one if you're on the fence about buying this phone for creating content. Should you buy it or should you skip this one? And using Filmic Pro on this phone, absolutely great. Filmic, please put up a few updates for these issues. And yeah, once again, guys, as always, it's been an absolute pleasure, and I will see you in the next one. Take care. Peace.